Hi, everyone. Doc T here with another episode of the Horses Advocate podcast. Thank you for joining me. And today we're going to talk about aging horses by their teeth. And this is an old and archaic art form that needs to go by the wayside. As many of you know, I've been with horses' teeth since 1983. And I'll never forget sitting in my class at Cornell as an undergraduate, memorizing the eruption dates and the morphology of teeth as a horse progresses through age. And it was very frustrating, just very frustrating to go through it all. I'm going to cheat while I'm talking to you because I'm going to look at the thing that I've got here. In fact, I'll share the screen. For those of you who are watching, I'm going to share the screen and you can see it right in front of you. Okay. The first thing I want to do is make a quote. This is my quote. I'm sure everyone else has said it once in their life, but age is the number of times the sun has been circled. That how old you are and how old you feel is in your mind and heart. And it's just, if I put you on a meteor or an asteroid or something, just barreling through space forever, and you're not circling the sun, how would you be able to tell how old you are? And we make a big deal about this in horses. And now with the technology that we've got with horses, with the microchips, with photographing them and getting identification papers, getting their birth date is pretty accurate now. But there are still a majority of equids out there in all parts of the country that have difficulty identifying who they are. So let's go down the old way. And I always said that you start the youngest and work to the end. I always said 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. That's when the first central incisors appear, the middle incisors, and the corner incisors. So this is the central, these are the middle, and these are the corners. So if you're just listening to me, the very first teeth you come to when you open the lips, they're right in the center of the mouth, right underneath the nostrils. Those are going to be the central incisors. And as you move out to the edge, the next pair are the middle, and then the very corner ones are obviously called the corner incisors. So they will erupt through the gum line at 6 days, and then 6 weeks and 6 months of age. And then everything goes on from there, kind of without any changes until about 2.5 years of age. Now, just a caveat here, we're just talking about the incisor teeth. We're not talking about the cheek teeth because nobody can just open the mouth and look, except possibly the first cheek teeth. And I'll give you the exception and a pretty accurate cheek tooth analogy with age in a second. The next thing I talk about is 2.5 years, 3.5 years, and 4.5 years. And that's when the cap is lost. So the cap is basically the baby tooth. And we all know about baby teeth. You and I have had them. We see them in our pet dogs, cats, and horses, where these deciduous teeth are called deciduous because they're like deciduous trees. The leaf falls from the tree in the autumn. Well, the tooth falls from the mouth at a certain set of age. And it's usually about 2.5 years of age. The first two upper incisors come out. And I get phone calls all the time from people who've never had foals before saying, oh my gosh, my horse just got kicked in the teeth. And the first question I ask is how old? And they say, oh, it's about 2.5 years old. And I said, oh, well, he's just shedding his baby teeth. It's bloody, it's kind of ugly, but that's what it looks like. And from the time the permanent tooth comes in and displaces the baby tooth, it takes about 6 months. So the baby tooth is going to come out, the deciduous or cap is going to be lost at 2.5 years of age. And 6 months later, you're going to have those teeth coming into wear. So that's what we call it, 2.5 to 3 years of age. Then 3.5 to 4 years is the middle incisors. And then 4.5 to 5 years, you have the corner incisors come out. And that actually is very variable. It can be a whole year or sometimes more before they come out. The biggest line that you should remember is full mouth at 5. So when a horse is 5 years old, he should have all of the permanent teeth in at that point. Then we move on to the next batch, and this is so variable. And I'll tell you why in a bit, but let's just go over what everybody claims they know. And the next set of numbers is a 6, 7, 8. So at 6 years of age, they lose their cups. Cups are the if you look at the chewing surface of these teeth, there's an indentation, and that's why it's called a cup, because you could fill it up with water if you want. The teeth are an oval shape, and the dental star is starting. Dental star is the pulp chamber that is has gone all the way to the wearing surface and is starting to withdraw back into the tooth as the tooth is being worn down. So that's at 6 years of age. At 7 years of age, the middle incisors lose their cups, and at 8 years of age, the corner incisors lose their cups. So all cups are gone at 9. And then there's a fellow named Galvayne who decided that there was a groove in the corner incisor, and that groove will appear around 10 years of age, and it starts as a small indentation as you look at the side of the upper corner incisors. You can see a small indentation at the gum line, right between the front part of the back part of the tooth. In other words, the tooth more forward versus the tooth more backwards. Right in the middle, you see this little groove. And that extends the length of the gum to half the length of the tooth by 15 and extends the full length of the tooth. So in other words, it comes from the gum line all the way down to the occlusal surface by 20 years of age. And then by 25, half of that groove is gone. And by 30 years of age, the groove is completely gone. So that's what it's supposed to happen in a perfect world. And of course, there's nothing perfect. So let me take you into a different point of view. A long time ago, I'd say it was 2002, I had the honor of having lunch with Dr. Paddy Dixon in Glasgow, Scotland. He's from Edinburgh and I'm from Florida, and we met in Glasgow. And he and I talked about the incisors and the use of files to file down the incisors in what's called incisor reductions. And we're just talking about whether that was a legitimate thing to do or not. And he said that they had done electron microscopy, which is basically using a microscope that uses electrons instead of just light to identify things that are very small. And they were able to look at thin portions of the enamel of the incisors. And they said that it was type 1, which is softer than type 2, which is the enamel of the cheek teeth. And whether I have type 1 and type 2 backwards or not, I'm not sure. There's enamel of the cheek teeth, which is harder than the enamel of the incisors, and they tend to wear more quickly. And I thought that was pretty enlightening. They also, Dr. Howe, Catherine Howe, Professor Emeritus at Cornell, had learned that horses chew between 10,000 and 40,000 chews per day. Half of that is 25,000. And what I noticed was when I watch a horse chew, they will take their tongue and stick it out and lap up the grass and then snap it off with the movement of their head with the tongue between the upper incisors and their tongue. And it's not between the two teeth, usually. So what I learned from that was horses are sticking their tongue out and then bringing back in with every bite of food that they go after. The tongue is constantly moving. And I surmise that it's the tongue that wears the incisors down, not chewing. In fact, I'd like you just to think for just a second, just pause and tell me, are your teeth clenched? Are your front teeth or your incisors, are they opposed to the opposite tooth? Are they touching? And the answer is no. And in the pictures that I have on the website here, they are also not touching. I call it a relaxed a relaxed space. So my theory is that what causes the wearing of the incisors is the movement of the tongue in and out. And I found that the horse will chew in a rotational way, and they will move their tongue in a different pattern that will create different incisor looks. Some people call it a smile. Some people call it a frown. Some horses you see a slant. My own personal horse had a V shape, and that's just based on how the tongue goes in and out and wears that enamel down. And that might be news to a lot of you who've never thought about it. You've always thought that your tongue, or pardon me, the front teeth come together, and that's just not true. So to prove that, I decided to make a project of taking images of horses' teeth from 2 years of age to 30 years of age and categorize them with 4 different views. The first view is from the left side. Next is from the right side. Then there's straight on, and then there's looking down at the occlusal surface. And I tried to find 10 horses that were papered or had positive identifications, such as a lip tattoo, that would identify the year these horses were born, so I could identify how old they were. And unfortunately, in the project, I didn't find too many 17-year-olds. I don't know why, just nobody had a 17-year-old when I did this, and a couple other ages. But every horse that you see in my project here on the website called under care, it's called Aging by the Teeth, that you'll see all these images, and you'll see the both sides and the straight on view where you get to see whether there are cups or not in the shape of the incisors. And I found that after looking at it all, I boiled all horses down into 5 groups. And all horses up to 5 years of age, I basically call young horses. And then between 6 and 12, I call them young adults. From 13 to 18, adult horses. Then 19 to 24, early senior. And then beyond 25 and above are senior horses. And that's just how I group these horses in my mind in 6-year chunks, 5-year chunks, to help me categorize. When somebody says, how old is this horse? I'll take a look. And what I'll find is if I look on the left side, it's going to look completely different than if I look on the right side, because there's so much asymmetry in these guys. And I'll look at one horse and I'll look at another horse, identical ages on paper, and yet they won't look the same. So those are the 5 categories. They're young adults, young horses, young adult, early senior, and senior. So birth to 5 are young, 6 to 12 are young adults, 13 to 18 are adults, 19 to 24 are early senior horses, and 25 on up are seniors. So for those of you who are watching this on video, you're going to see that I'm scrolling through the website, and you can see that it hasn't been completely done. I'm working on it now. By the time this podcast comes out, I should have the website redone and looking good. But for you right now, I'm going to look at the open mouth view. And the open mouth view, this is how it's all going to look, because this one's been done. And you get to see all the 2-year-olds in an open mouth view, which basically shows that it's actually 2 and 3-year-olds. That the incisors have this same look of baby. It's what I call a baby tooth look. And as they start to shed, you'll start to see the permanent teeth come in, which have a larger and more square look versus the baby teeth that are rounded and immature. And it's really easy to tell a horse that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years of age because it's so dynamic during that time. However, I've been fooled. There's one in here that is supposed to be a 2-year-old, and it looks like a 3-year-old. And that horse's mouth is all messed up. But this whole, if you really want to learn about horse teeth and how to age a horse, come to this website, thehorsesadvocate.com, and under the care of the horse, look up aging the horse, and you're going to see clearly what a cup is, what dental stars are, and shapes, triangular versus oval. It's just really, really easy to see. And hopefully I've laid it out in a good way. There is one thing that I found in the cheek teeth, and that is the first bottom cheek teeth. That's just behind where the bit sits. You can't see it. I wouldn't advise you feeling back there because you'll get your fingers bit unless you have the jaw blocked so it can't come down on you. But the first bottom cheek teeth at around 17 years of age starts to get worn in a very unique pattern that I call it old horse tooth. But the enamel ridge that's uniform in younger horses starts to break away, and you get these very unusual grooves that are razor sharp. And this will continue until either the tooth is completely worn down and worn away, or the tooth just falls out of the mouth, or the horse is in its 30s. And oftentimes it's the only two teeth that I will address in falling down sharp edges because it's just not there. I'm back. Stop sharing the screen for those of you who are watching. So I call it old horse tooth. It occurs at 17. You don't have to have it at 17. It's rare that a horse under 17 has it. I've seen it in a couple of 16-year-olds. But if a horse is being presented as 14 and it has this unusual wear of the first bottom cheek teeth, or what I call old horse tooth, you're going to say, no, that horse is older. And that's the toughest part, because we're asked as experts, as veterinarians or as dentists, to age a horse by their teeth. And it gets frustrating because they want an answer. They want assurance that the horse is that age. And we can't do that. It just doesn't happen. We can give ballpark information. I'll give you a great example. Some woman in Florida bought a horse from Europe someplace and had me work on the teeth and said, how old do you think this horse is? And I aged the horse older than what she thought it was and what it was being sold as. And I said, well, here are my reasons. I told them about Galvayne's groove. I told them about the cups, the shapes of the teeth, and what I found. And she had me put it in writing, and the horse got shipped back to Europe because it wasn't that age. But before it went, she'd gotten another opinion from another vet. And this just muddied the waters because that vet said, well, no, it's a younger horse. I said, based on what? And he told me what he thought. I said, well, that's not according to what we're saying here. And these things don't jive with what the age that you're saying. And this is why I'm saying it's this age. So we had two veterinarians who are basically disagreeing on the age of a horse based on archaic ways. And the bottom line is, if you don't get papers, if you don't have blood typing or a valid computer chip embedded in the horse, there's no way you're actually going to tell the age other than to be plus or minus 2 or 3 years. So that's why I have 5-year blocks. And that's what I tell people. I mean, if your horse, if you think it's 15 years old and I come in and say, no, it looks like it's a 12-year-old, well, that's great, right? So you immediately got 3 more years of use out of the horse before it died. Or if I say, if you think it's 15, I say, no, it's more like 20. Now you're angry. And nobody wins in something like this. It's because the horse is going to die at some point, and it's going to die of something unrelated to age. And so it really is a moot point. You have to look at the horse and you have to see, is it functioning correctly? Is it sound? Are you feeding it right? And don't worry about the age of the horse. But for those of you who really want to dig in and take a look at this project that I did, I think it'd be worth checking out. And again, by the time this podcast gets broadcasted, I should have that page all cleaned up. as I revamp the whole website, which is a monumental project, but I'm almost done with it. And this aging horses by their teeth is one of the more complicated pages to recode. So thanks for bearing with me on that. And I hope some of you take the time to look through it because it's fascinating stuff. Dentistry has been a passion of mine since 1983. And I've worked on, tens of thousands of horses, which just is a lot of fun. And I'm so glad that I've been given the opportunity to do that. And some of you guys have to look at the horse's mouth as something more than just weapons to bite you with. They're an important part of the horse, and keeping care of them is important. Anyway, so this is a really short podcast. Sorry, but sometimes they have to be short. And I hope you're enjoying them. And if you have any ideas that you want me to talk about in future podcasts, please let me know. Go to the Horse's Advocate, send an email, do something like that. Become a member. That would be the best way. So I try to listen to all the members and their requests. And join us for our podcasts, our AMAs, Ask Me Anythings, and our monthly discussions on some topic. And I look forward to hearing from every one of you. Thanks again. And don't forget to share this and leave a comment on your favorite podcast listening station. All right, Doc T, I'm done charging my car. I got to get going, and we'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, everyone. Doc T here. Thank you for listening to my content. Would you do me a huge favor? Would you please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, and give a star review? However it's presented to you, I want you to do that. There's two reasons. The first, of course, is to improve this product. This way I know what you like, what you don't like, what I can improve upon, what topics you want me to cover. But more importantly, it's also going to help others find me. And by doing that, you are now engaged in this mission of helping horses thrive in a human world. By you helping, we can reach others. And that I would be so grateful for. And remember, go to thehorsesadvocate.com for updates on this information. Thehorsesadvocate.com. And again, thank you so much for being here. Doc T out.